Good day and welcome to the morning program. The Elisha Dailies warn INEC against beavers problems repeat. Fuel consumption hit 80 million daily. You can find that on page 21. Afenifere leader congratulates Tinubu, endorses Sanwo-Olu. And the big story. New Naira pain persists despite fresh CBN orders, with the rider cues chaos in banking halls as scarcity worsens. Banks expect more note from CBN before Saturday poll. The picture story: Nigeria rejoins UN peacekeeping mission 10 years after exit. You can read more detail of that story on page 13. And on election poster, Lagos summon principal for punishing people. You can read that story on page 18. Federal government shifts census to May. You can also find that on page 18 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On New Telegraph, benchmark 2023 budget threatened as oil plunges below $72 per barrel. Inflation inches to 21.91% on rising food prices. And you can find the details on page 6. Religion, ethnicity cost many of my colleagues re-election, coming from Bajabiamila. You can find why he's saying all of that on page 6. And on February 25th, polls INEC failed deserve sanction. This is coming from General Iponwe, and you can find the details on page 3. I'll provide better environment for businesses, Kalu tells Aba traders and others. Court fixes May 22nd for suit seeking to stop conduct of polls on Saturday. And the big story on New Telegraph: federal government will remove fuel subsidy before Buhari's tenure ends, coming from the minister. Hinges policy delay on Nigeria to increase its oil production as Shell leaves force measure. Federal government didn't envisage hardship caused by Naira redesign. You can find the details of 2 and 7. On presidential poll still, Atiku PDP withdraw fresh application against INEC. Sort out gray areas with commission. I will reclaim my mandate, coming from Atiku. Nigerians know who won, coming from NNPP. You can find the details on page 2, 3, and 6. FEC okays 2.8 billion naira for May census. FEC okays 2.8 billion naira for May census, 32 billion naira for road, 3.7 million pounds for power. NBC sanctions 25 broadcast stations, assisting get final warning. NCC to Telcom switch to renewable energy, reduce costs on consumers. The details can be found on page 2. At the downside of the paper, we have study ties dry cleaning chemical to rise in Parkinson's disease. The details can be found on page 22. We have some picture story. Do well to get the papers to know what they are all about. And that's all the news on New Telegraph.
On Daily Asset newspaper, Nigeria's inflation rate hit 21.91% in February. The big story: INEC ready for Saturday polls, distributes sensitive materials, with the rider Benue, Enugu, Lagos, or your Jigawa orders take delivery. Appeal court dismisses Atiku's request to observe Beaver's reconfiguration. Other story: troops apprehend 900 suspected terrorist collaborators. PDP alleges APC has no Guba candidate in Taraba. Expert warn against kissing and chewing babies' food. This is in relation to the World Oral Health Day. So you can read more detail of that story inside the paper. Banks lost 7.19 billion naira to fraud. 4.97 billion naira to digital banking. This is coming from the NDIC. And on check transaction dropped to 482.5 billion naira in 2 months. More of that also can be found on page 14. FEC approves 15 billion naira for road linking second Niger bridge. OK's 3.7 million pounds for power. downside, we have HYPPDEC planned special intervention for 70 Kogi communities. We have a picture story on the front page of the paper. You can do well to actually, get the daily asset and read more detail. But before we move further, Rachel, it seems this inflation is reflecting on most of our paper. Yes. And we can see some of the reasons the government is saying is as a result of the naira scarcity. And that is why we're having this inflation going up. We're excited in January because I think the prices of gold was kind of stable for December period, and so we didn't have any hike in the inflation was actually lower than if we were actually expecting it, despite the fact that it was a festive period. But then we can see reverse is the case, down from January, February, down to even presently March right now. We're still having naira scarcity despite CBN directive. Some of the policies not favorable with people. And of course, when we see things moving this way, it has a way of actually affecting inflation because we are buying naira, number one. And so all of this, are part of the reasons why we can see the inflation. But presently, as it is, we have to sit together. And when I mean we, I mean the government have to sit together and see what is the solution presently right now. People's problem always is not the fact that things are high, but when it go high, can it just be stable? But rather we keep seeing fluctuation in the prices of goods, services, and all of that, and we can see that it's affecting people. We saw in the papers, I think on Monday or so, businesses closing that because a lot of people don't have cash to continue running their small scale businesses, and then a lot of things actually fluctuating as it is. So I don't know what the minister is planning to do about all of this thing. We can see that already there are possibilities that even fell before the end of his tenure, of course. So that means his end of his tenure is supposed to be May. So maybe would it be April? Would it be May? And all of these, speculations. Yeah. But I just hope that we know what we are doing as it is presently as a country, and that our economy don't keep suffering and keep going down and down as a result of maybe somebody somewhere not doing their own job as it should be.
Sele, if we look at how things have been going since last year, and if we tell ourselves the truth, we will not rule out naira scarcity from inflation. However, if it's playing a role, I'll give it 1%. Let's look at the year 2023, where we had inflation flying from 15% to over 20-something%. And we didn't have naira scarcity at that time. True. I feel it's just a continuation of the inflation. Let's not forget there is a global inflation. However, when you even look at the rate of the inflation at other countries, Nigeria's inflation is still very high compared to the kind of inflation that other countries are facing, despite that there is a global inflation. It's the fact that our naira keeps losing its value. I think it is the major factor we are having, where that the naira is not stable. Neither is it going down, but it either remains fuel scarcity, because we know goods need to be transported. Not fully dependent on electricity. True. They depend on diesel, they depend on fuel, depending on whatever machine they use, we depend on the fuel and gas in this country. So these are the major factors too. But then honestly, Naira design plays 1% in 100% of, because we've been having inflation even before, even when there was nothing as scarcity of fuel. We've been having inflation consistently every month, growing, and it hasn't changed. So unless the real factors that is being addressed or dealt with, even if tomorrow we wake up and there's enough cash in circulation, as long as as long as the value of our currency is not going high, as long as we are struggling with fuel scarcity, and as long as industries are struggling with electricity and still depending on fuel and gas to run their businesses, we are going to keep seeing inflation, whether Naira becomes in circulation or not.
I think, Richard, another thing that is actually, to me, is the fact that we are still importing.
We are. Exactly.
And that is the problem.
We are.
If we really want our naira to have value, we need to stop importing. Let's be the one we're exporting goods, finished goods. And then you see, with that, our naira, we have value. We have industries, we have schools that still, imagine having a school in Nigeria and then you're supposed to pay school fees in dollars,
In
not
dollars,
in
yeah,
naira. I mean,
exactly.
yeah, kind of making us to feel like our naira doesn't have value.
Doesn't
So I
have
think it's
value.
high time we start depending on consuming what we produce too.
produce.
I think that is the only way. So I just hope that the government, the ministry, let's look inward and see what we can be able to do.
Yes.
With that, we'll be able to see how our inflation, maybe we can control it to
Yes.
a large, level. And let's continue with the daily asset, where we have, okay, other picture stories. I think that's all on daily asset newspaper.
On the Guardian newspaper, World Health Organization moves to curb crimes by immigrant nurses and others. Lagos court orders IGP, AGF to pay 400 million naira to families of 4 Ladipo traders. You can find the details on page 8. Lagos market fire, Sanwo-Olu compensate Akere traders with 100 million naira. 10 killed, others injured in fresh southern Kaduna attack. The big story, at 21.91%, inflation sets new high amid currency crisis. The writer says experts link rise to naira redesign, Wale K saying using currency squeeze to tackle inflation counterproductive. Then we say Emefiele warns African central bankers against possible bank run. And on subsidy removals, the federal government states yet to conclude on palliative ahead June deadline. At the downside of the paper, immigration officials threaten elections boycott over alleged unpaid allowances. Amid outrage, NBA defense position on poll says lapses left for court decision, and you can find the details on page 6. We can see a picture stories of where we can see food traders, and then we can see INEC distributing the sensitive materials for the upcoming Guba elections on Saturday. And that's all the news on the Guardian newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the Blueprint newspaper. APC National Working Committee members at war over campaign funds, where we have Osumore demands 500 million naira damages apology from Salihu Lukman, and then I can't be intimidated, Lukman fires back. You can read more of that story on page 6. And on Saturday, polls, APC, PDP, Labour Party in last-minute battle for Lagos, Ebonyi, Taraba, and Plateau State, with the rider Gombe, Kwara, Nasarawa 2. And we have diasporas back, Sanwo-Olu, Rodi, Vigo, Get, Bode, George, and support 6 parties gang up against Unua. PDP says APC has no candidate in Taraba. Obi lead Dakum's campaign in Plateau. Ian backs APC in Ebonyi. Dogora queues behind APC Sadiq in Bauchi. Confusion in Kwara over Labour Party and PDP accord. You can find more of that on page 6. And we know today is actually the deadline for this campaign.
Yes.
So definitely we'll see a lot of all these political parties, gladiators trying to, help their own candidate in various states. In fact, on my way coming to work, I saw some of these, political parties, youth at various, junctions, roundabout, trying to see what they can do. Is a last minute thing. So we wish all the gubernatorial aspirants all the best as they actually go for their election on Saturday. Still on Blueprint newspaper, don't go on exile. I would persecute you, Tinubu assures Bode George. You can read more on page 7. And we have 10 killed in fresh southern Kaduna attack. This really is sad one. We hope that the governor do something about it. It's becoming a regular story on every of our papers. Still on Blueprint, we have FEC OK 16 billion naira for road linking second Niger bridge. Federal government shift 2023 population and housing census to May. Nigeria may lose 15 trillion naira to Naira redesign policy. You can read more of that on page 23. And we have DMO reopens 4 federal government bond value at 360 billion naira. More can be found on page 23. We have the picture story where we can see during the FEC meeting. You can grab the blueprints and read more detail of any story that is of interest to you.
On Vanguard newspaper, Cash crunch pushes down inflation month on month. 2 days to poll candidates, parties bicker over violence, rigging, and apathy. NBS sanctioned 25 stations, warns 26 others. And the big story, war in APC over poll funds as Omisore sues for 500 million naira. Party National Vice Chair Northwest Lukman leads calls for Adamu Omisore to quit, accuses Omisore of mismanaging funds party voted for the last Osun State governorship election. Omisore fires back, demands 500 million as damages for defamation. And Emefiele advises central bankers on industry stability. On fuel subsidy, federal government states yet to harmonize ahead of June deadline. Atiku PDP withdraw fresh application against INEC. Buhari's silence on allegation against INEC dangerous, Southern Middle Belt leaders. Tinubu's silence over attack on Igbo in Lagos, dangerous for Nigeria, coming from Labour Party. And you can read the details on page 9. We have an Olu Fasan column. You can find the details or read more of that on page 16. And we have another column for sports, and you can read more of the story on page 31. And that's all the news on Vanguard newspaper.
Right, let's take a look at the leadership. 17 die in Bauchi auto crashes. You can find that on page 17. And we have Emir Bayero caution against do or die politics. And I think it's very important for everybody to read that story on page 4. Other story we have here, Nigeria rejoin United Nations peacekeeping operations. I actually wanted to make a comment on this from the first speaker, Rachel. I'm really excited and very happy that, our own army have finally, after exit for about 10 years, we finally joined the peacekeeping. I know that people will definitely have some concern, the fact that we have our own internal crisis left, right, and center, and then we're having our own armies going. But you and I will know that Nigerian army have been rated over the years as one of the best when it comes to peacekeeping. So I'm excited. Seeing them going with the flag. If there's anything I love so much about is the symbol of green, white. Maybe that's why I happen to love the color green, white. So I just hope that as they go over there, they will represent us well, because not only are they going there to be peace, to be keeping the peace there, but also they are ambassadors of Nigeria. So wish them all the best, and we just hope that they will be safe over there. It's very important for us that not only will they keep the peace, but they should also make sure that they are actually safe over there. So we're really happy, and I just hope that as Nigerians we give them all the support they need as they keep the peace.
Of course, it is a good thing in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it doesn't remove the fact that it definitely comes with a lot of mixed feeling, knowing that we're just seeing on the paper that there is a fresh attack in southern Kaduna where 10 people lost their life. And on that same paper, we're having news on our troops joining the UN peace keeping and all of that. And then we know that, there is a lot of unrest in Nigeria, and we can't claim to be peaceful completely. And in as much as, yes, our federal government haven't done that much justice in the way they portray us to the international body, in the sense that there's a lot of portrayal of things being okay rather than we need help. Because how I understand the system works in regard to peacekeeping is you request for it, you ask for help, you tell these bodies, these international bodies, you tell the United Nations that you need help, except if they see it is obviously a need that they have to step in, because even if you don't ask, it's obvious you need help. But in the case of Nigeria, we need to ask for help concerning this peace, because it's been going on for so many years. The attack in southern Kaduna has been going on for so many years. The Boko Haram menace have been going on for so many years. The Fulani herdsmen have been going on for so many years. All the terrorist attack we've been having, everything, Sally, has been going
It's
on for
overwhelming.
too long. And I feel we should be done with them by now. These are things that I believe we have the military capacity to be done with them. But for some reason, it's still lingering. We still don't know our fate as a country, because it just, when it feels like we are enjoying some peace, there's always a news about one attack somewhere or another. So I just hope that if we're not asking for help, as others are coming to us for help, then we are simply saying we are capable. Then let's prove it. Let's show ourselves that we are capable of dealing with all the insecurity in our country and restoring the peace that Nigeria once had.
You know, when you were talking, I recall when the Russia-Ukraine war started freshly, and when Ukraine asked for help, you know, a lot of Nigerians were excited to, like, we want to go help Ukraine. And like, in fact, it was a story that was on the papers, because all you needed was just roughly 500,000 naira, you're out. You know, so a lot of people, like, even me selling every of their properties just to make it over there. You know, you know, right now you and I are smiling over it, but just like you said, a lot is going on in the country, and I hope that the government will do something, especially looking at the fact that we have some of the names of those who are financing all of this Boko Haram. Let's have their names on the paper. I think when we do that, or on the TV, even though the government said they want to do all of the, you know, persecuting secretly, but they didn't do this thing secretly.
They
Families, I mean, the mass burial that were being conducted. Let's look at Kaduna, Benue, Plateau State, and many other parts of the country.
So
you know,
many places.
Zamfara, Borno, till date, we're still. In fact, just recently, Borno, an office was, I think a political office was being, you know, there was fire in Bauchi and all of those places. So I just hope, just like we said, we're happy that our army are going over to keep the peace, but also let's do something internally to see how we'll be able to keep our own peace too. Well, let's continue on the leadership newspaper. Nigeria's inflation hit 21.91% and need cash crunch. You can read all of that on page 2. Inflation rise by 0.09% to 21.91% and need cash crunch. And let me read a little on the search for moderate inflation has hit the rocks, with headline inflation rising above prediction to a record of 21.91% in February, signaling a possible hike in monetary rate when the monetary policy meeting of the Central Bank of Nigeria will meet next week. A report by the National Bureau of Statistics yesterday showed that inflation rose above the January 2023 figure of 21.82%, showing an increase of 0.09% point when compared to January 2023 headline inflation rate. General election spending and scarcity of banknotes that cause much economic hardship for individuals and small-scale businesses. We can continue to read that story on page 7. But just like we've said, we know the way forward as a country. Let us reduce our importation of goods and also how to strengthen our naira. That is the way forward for us as a country. Other stories still on leadership newspaper. INEC finalized preparation for governorship and assembly elections. Crisis rocked the APC National Working Committee. Omisore Lukman fights dirty over Osun campaign funds, with the writer, National Secretary, threatening 500 million against the vice chairman. He's trying to bully me, coming from Lukman. Party keeps mum over the crisis. I hope they resolve their internal crisis, whatever it is. Other stories still on the paper. We have presidential poll. NBC sanctioned 25 airing station, 116 orders. Direct CBN to make Naira notes available. Southern and Middle Belt leaders tell President Muhammadu Buhari, and federal government shift population census to May. You can read all of that on page 7, and that's all on the leadership newspaper.
On First News newspaper, Governor polls federal government shift population census to May. INEC, Wike plotting to rig governor poll, opposition parties alleges. Police will protect your vote, AIG assures Kaduna voters. Food fuel jacked inflation to 21.9% in February. And the big story on First News, Global Terrorism Index. IPOP ranked world's 10th deadliest group, launched 40 attacks, caused 57 deaths in 2022. And so we just finished talking about all the problems we have in Nigeria concerning insecurity and peace. And if IPOP is ranked the third deadliest, I wonder where Boko Haram is being ranked and where the Fulani herdsmen and men are being ranked on this list, because they have killed more than 57.
Millions.
They've killed thousands, hundreds of thousands of Nigerians. And I'm wondering if IPOP could make it to world 10th, then Boko Haram should be maybe thereabout on the third position or thereabout. We know other very strong terrorist group, of course, but if this is the statistics that they are being used to be ranked as 10th, then we have deadlier, like we have the Boko Haram superseding these numbers and the damage that they have caused in Nigeria. Whatever the case may be, we don't need this kind of things on our news. We should have better news concerning Nigeria as it is on our papers, because it is not funny, it is not a joke, it is a sad thing. We wake up with so much uncertainty every day, and we know how insecurity have set us backward in times of development, because we should have foreign investors that would want to come to Nigeria because of the many resources we have, but can't come because they are not sure if their businesses will be safe, if they will thrive or not. Insecurity has greatly affected the economy of this country, even more than we know. We process, and I just hope that we won't be development we're talking about that are going on.
No, Rachel, just like you said, we're looking at when our soldiers are going to keep the peace. And then on the paper to rank the Boko Haram. I remember, I could recall clearly, it took time for the National House of Assembly to pronounce them as a terrorist group. It took time. It took pushing from Nigerians. And, you know, stories like this bring tears to the eye. Reason why? Because if just take a look at souls that have died, people that have died. We are looking at Kaduna, we're looking at Benue. People cannot even sleep with their eye closed. If you're just coming, maybe you just went out of the country, out of the state, like let's say Plateau State, for instance, and you're coming back just around that Hawun Kibo side, you could see people walking with their loads, trying to look for a place. You know that, Rachel, a lot is going on in this country.
A lot of suicide bombings, very close to us in Yaya, in Abuja here in Jos Plateau several times. All of this.
Of course, Rachel, you know that a lot is happening. And this is a way to prick the conscience of our leaders. What are they doing about all of this? Just like I said earlier, we have the names of those who are financing all of this. What is stopping the government from doing something about this? We have the intelligence. Rachel, I refuse to believe that we don't have what we do have what it takes. If not, the UN will not ask our army to join, because we have what it takes. But when you look at some of the will I say equipment, or will I talk about armor, or talking about whatever they use, the weapons they use, you will know that what we are using is child's play compared to, and then you begin to ask questions: how do they get the money? Who is sponsoring them?
Sponsoring all of these.
Of course, even those that are in the IDP camps presently, they have not left them alone. We still have them going back to the IDP camp to charge their phones. And I say, what effrontery. So I'm just looking for, it's as if somebody somewhere is sleeping. In fact, if they are sleeping, let me put it categorically like that, they are sleeping. So I'm just hoping that with this will be a wake-up call. If we're having IPOP, of course, I'm not saying IPOP, but they are actually causing trouble. I mean, imagine where businesses do not strike because you have to sit back at home because of somebody,
of course,
and
all of that. True.
truly, Rachel, they are causing havoc. So we just hope that with all of these groups that are starting, if we don't do something about it, they will have a field day. We keep making reference to Afghanistan. How did it start to where it is presently? We don't want to whether you are my sister. If I see you doing something that is doing whatever they feel. So we're just pricking on the conscience of our leaders to please wake up
what
to
is
their call. If you
expected.
swore an oath to protect lives, to protect anybody that is ready to take the bull by the horn, be in that place. So we
that,
just hope our leaders will.
Stations and issues final warning to 16 others. INEC to Bode George, our ITC staff, career officers, and politicians. Omisori threatens lawsuit against APC. Vice chairman demands 500 million naira for damages. Elections. Why many experienced reps members lost out. This is coming from Bajabia Mila, and that's all the news on First News newspaper.
All right, before we go further with the newspaper review, let's take this time out where we can let you through the stories, because we have a lot of stories on the paper. So we'll let you actually through the stories. And when we come back from the break, you can actually, call us and let us say what your views are concerning any of the story of your interest. Please do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Thank you for staying tuned. It's still the Dailies on Network Television International. We've been looking at various stories on the paper. We're just 2 days to the governorship and State House of Assembly, where we will be having the population census. These and many other stories are what we've been having. Please do remember to call us back. We really love to hear from you. On the Matrix newspaper, Tinubu will have most of that on the front page and continue to read more on page 4.
We have a comment.
Okay, good morning to you. I'm Chigozi. I'm calling from Onitsha. One of IPOP. Tagging IPOP as one of the... You forget about where you come from and look at the reality of life. Many of them are men that has 5 billion of their own. There is open group that is agitating for one reason or the other. More or less bad governance. And you are tagging those people terrorism. Forgetting to know that it was the Fulani herdsmen that put our land the way it is. My dear, the truth must be said. President is from the Fulani axis, or he should tell himself. 2016, when Muhammad Buhari.
Right, thank you so much for that call, Rachel. I really didn't get him clearly. I don't know if you did.
I think he was trying to point the fact concerning IPOP. Why would it be? It's just an open group where there are people, business owners. I think he's just trying to defend the IPOP, perhaps not agreeing with the fact that they are deadly, as it's been mentioned, as terrorists and all of that. But then it's not about defending this IPOP them. We have a caller.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Can I talk to the studio now?
Yes, go on. We can hear you.
Yes, I'm Okisam. I call from Buhari here in Abuja. Federal government didn't envisage hardship due to Naira designs. Like this should have been done with some stress test. You have to look at so the stress test must have told you that if this when this regime are putting together his own cabinet and the eggmen and we complain. You need to get the right people, be able to implement this thing. So in order climb, such failure will lead to the resignation or dismissal of some staff. But Nigeria is always a far cry. It will continue as if nothing has gone wrong. Now, the issue of inflation, and which Madam Rachel has done a lot of justice, let me quickly add that inflation is a function of demand and supplies. We beyond the issues of the fuel and even the scarcity, you can see what Nigeria is going through. Inflation is basically, a large amount of money chasing few productive goods. Now, goods are not products. Now we don't have even sufficient money to even buy what is on the market. Apart from the insecurity that has ensured that those who are supposed to produce the food are in IDPs. So you can see what Nigeria is going through. Then, apart from that, look at the issues of even the fuel. Many people, they have to sleep in filling station. And above all this, we are told that 80 million naira is being used to subsidize. Where is the fuel? Our debt is increasing. I have never seen a country whose citizens suffer the way we suffer here. But everything goes as if nothing is wrong. Nigeria have the greatest of resilience, but even at our own peril. So what do we say today that we have benefited from a government that is meant to look after the welfare of the citizens? There's nothing. Then finally, before I drop, the issue of peacekeeping. It's like saying that your house is on fire and your own neighbor, which is also on fire, you are busy providing water to quench the other when you abandon your own. I mean, what logic is that? Some of these soldiers that will be going to do the peacekeeping in other countries will be at the war front there and be thinking that their families are not safe in Nigeria. How do you expect them to put in their best? We have a government who is just like Madam Rachel has said, you go to tell the world that all is well in your country, and so you are lending a helping hand. Meanwhile, there are people who have spent 4 or 5 years in IDP camp in Nigeria. They don't know what is peace. They are always on the run. So this kind of hypocrisy cannot advance our country. People should be able to know and tell this government that we are suffering more than is due for a human race. Thank you, and do have a good day.
Thank you so much for all the contribution. He actually just added to what we've said,
Yes.
keeping inflation and all of that.
True.
Well, let's continue with the Matrix newspaper. Federal government confirms shifting of 2023 census from March 29 to May. You can read more of that on the front page and on page 4. The big story, 2023 Guba race, battle for soul of Lagos. You can find that on page 2. The picture story at the Commonwealth dinner hosted by King Charles. We can see a lot of worry with also his wife at the Commonwealth dinner hosted by King Charles in London yesterday. You can read more of that story. And we have Sanwo-Olu, Adiriran, Rodis, Vigor at the front runners. Ex-PDP Guba candidate, Labour Party senatorial candidate, dump parties and join forces with APC. Leaders of PFN Lagos endorses Sanwo-Olu. 13 chairmen declare support for the ruling party. Bodejot supporting Labour Party instead of PDP. And we have GRV urges Lagosians to turn out in history numbers. We have another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, ma. I'm Victor Udenta from Benin State.
Hello, can you turn down the volume of your TV set, please?
Okay.
All right. We just hope you call us back before the end of the show. Please, to all our callers, do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set so that we can actually hear you clearly here in the studio. Thank you so much. Other stories still on the Matrix newspaper. NBC sanctioned 25 stations for contravening broadcast code. Don't allow Lagos to fall to opposition under Tinubu's presidency, coming from lawmaker. Subsidy removal, federal government yet to harmonize on palliative measures ahead of the June deadline. And we have Buhari swears in 7 ICPC board members. You can read more of that on page 9, and that's all on the paper.
On Nigerian Tribune, State Assembly poll, fierce battle in Anambra, Edo, Ocean Rivers, and others. INEC begins distribution of material, complete reconfiguration of beavers. Yes,
Good morning,
we
we can hear
now.
you.
The other woman they lead now, they no go hear what I'm saying. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning. God bless. We never get a better leader for Nigeria. That's why everything will be like that. If they will get better leader, like the time of Sheikh Shagari, the time of Murtala Mohammed, all those things cannot be like that. Like Buhari is not a better leader. Tinubu is not a better leader. We don't want them again. Let them go back to tender. We don't like them. They are evil. God bless you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for that contribution.
Still on Nigerian Tribune, use Saturday poll to express anger over sham February 25th election, Atiku says in broadcast. And on Akere market, Sanwo-Olu compensates traders with 100 million naira. Olunloye Ladoja's wife, Sina Pella, drums up support for Makinde. The details can be found on page 4. Federal government shifts population census to May. 3 months to petrol subsidy removal. Federal government yet to finalize palliatives. And you can find the details of that story on page 8. We have Southern Middle Belt leaders Right Buhari lampoon him over attitude on February 25th poll irregularities. The details can be found on page 25. And we have a picture story where we can see Sanwo-Olu giving the check of 100 million naira to the Akere and market traders. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On Daily Sun newspaper, litigation, we are with you, Ohanize tells Obi. You can find that on page 28. And the big story, election materials, INEC PDP reached truce on inspection, with the right opposition party withdraws suit against commission. Labour Party lawyers continue inspection of materials. Atiku urges electorate to vote massively for PDP on Saturday, says all hope not lost. And we have on Google polls, INEC begin distribution of sensitive materials nationwide. ECOWAS deploy 163 observers. And we have Intricity alleges plan to buy votes with 50 billion naira in 20 states. So we can read more of that on page 27. Aggrieved residents shut down AAU Akoba. Edo government restates SAC staff. You can find that on page 28. Federal government shift population census to May. And of course, subsidy government yet to harmonize discussion on palliatives. Again, 10 killed in Zango, Qatar, with the rider deputy governor lead delegation to community condemns renewed killings. I think we have to go more than just condemning to actually actions. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Hello. Good morning.
IPOP. So what I'm trying to say is the condition we are now, we are not talking of IPOP. So this country now, like this past presidential election, what happened there? We are not talking of tribal settlement. Let's concentrate in our country. This Nigeria is our country. We are not talking of IPOP because I don't know whether they want to use it as a tribal sentiment to condemn, to do something so that the law will not rule. So let there be law in this our country. Let's respect law. That's what we need. All those past, we are no more talking about the past. Let's concentrate and build a new Nigeria is what we want.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, we will concentrate in our country, but then if we can actually expand our tentacles and also help other places, we will do that.
I understand where he's coming from to say a little bit. The IPOP story feels like a distraction to the real problem in Nigeria as it is. We're not going to dispute the fact that yes, IPOP is a problem, but amidst the many problems we are facing as a country, the hardship, the election, the every chaos going on, I feel that this story to be a big story on one of our paper feels more like a distraction than us actually facing what threatens the current situation of the country as it is now. We're looking forward to a Nigeria where everything works, and we will keep trusting that that happens.
Of course, and that was just like I was saying about the killing in Southern Kaduna.
Exactly.
It's high time the government stop just condemning to actually being proactive. Do something about it.
Yes.
Why would they keep coming back to the same point? What did they keep in that point? Yes. What are we doing? And when I mean we, I keep using that word we because when one person misses out, it affects every other person. True. So I hope that the government will actually wake up. This is not just for Kaduna, but any other part of the country that is going through one unrest or the other,
Yes.
the government should please wake up to their responsibility to work together with the security agencies to do something better. And let me quickly round up on the Daily Sun, where we have APC leadership crisis fester, Omisore Lukman fights dirty, and downside we have inflation rises to 21.91% in February from 21.82% in January, says the MBS. You can find that on page 5. And we have the picture story where we can see Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State with some government officials and the market leaders laying a brick to kick off the rebuild of the Bon Akere Odu spare part market yesterday, and we can see him trying to do more and also handing over a check of 100 million naira to the market leaders. This is really the right step in the right direction, and we hope that other governors of other states will actually take a lead from such kind gesture to actually help the traders. And that is how far we can go on the program this morning. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Rachel. Thank you to all our callers that called in this morning. Thank you to the crew members, and thank you so much to every other person. Until we come your way again, please go out there and be peaceful. And remember, today that happens to be the World Oral Health Day. Do take care of your teeth and also your oral health generally. Do have a blessed day ahead.